With me, I have my colleague Lakshmi, who would be handling the first part of the session. And second part of the session would be dealt by Tarun, which is on the tech update, where today we would be showing you how a data which is there in the tally. In the earlier session, we have seen how do we connect to Power BI. In this session, we are going to see how do we publish those results and any changes that happen into the tally, how the reports can dynamically get updated, which we are going to show you a live demo where we'll also give you a login where you can check the reports, and with the change in the report at our end, the reports that you are seeing on the cloud also would get changed. These are the two things that we would be looking at today. Before I start the discussion, can someone confirm whether the voice is clear and the screen is clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Done. So let's first begin with a primary notion that every businessman that would have is, I should be free from any notices. In fact, if I have to put it in a straightforward thing, I should be free from department harassments. Friends, let me accept this fact, and everyone should acknowledge that no business in the world can run without receiving any notices. Please understand, when you receive a notice, it really doesn't mean something wrong about you. A notice is indicating seeking an additional information. And if a business expects to run without any noticing, I think it's a bad or a pipe dream that, okay, that would happen. Rather, everyone should actually wish for saying that, let me be strong enough to face any notice that comes in. Now, how does that happen? Is when you have a quality bookkeeping, when you have a reconciliations of various data sources that have. I'm sure today everyone will acknowledge and appreciate the information that the government is having. They have the data of income tax returns that we are filing. They have the data of the GST returns that are being filed. They have the information that is coming from SFT and banking sources. If you look at your AIS and TIS, the information that exists is enormous. And quite possible there will be a difference from one value to another value. Notice is seeking something, a reason for difference. If not anything, like if not any of that, most of the returns are filed by the accountants. There are chances that there are errors in the returns that we are filing. Error is human. Let us say that even if there are no accounting errors and there are filing returns, whatever was there in the books was filed and information in all the sources are correct. But what about the books of accounts? Are the books of accounts getting closed on a timely manner? Like if we acknowledge that my books or accounts are closed on a timely manner, on 11th of April, we have all filed our GST R1 frozen sales return for the financial year 23. On 20th of April, we have all filed our GST R3. We frozen my input tax credit register, which means my purchases are frozen. We are in the month of June. Have we filed our tax audit report? Is our statutory audit finalized? No, because some provisions, some unbilled revenue, some reconciliation, accountant had made mistakes. So there could be an errors that could have creeped in, which we should again correct our GSTR1. Now, we all know that once my 3V is filed, I cannot edit it. Like there is no concept of editing a return. The moment I correct my R1, there would always be a difference between R1 and 3B for any given period of time. Like how we say there would always be a difference between 2A and 2B in a shorter period. But in a longer horizon, both would match. Likewise, my GSTR1, I am now reporting an additional turnover and for which I am discharging the taxes in the 3B of this month. But the amendment that I have done, I am amending my return of financial year 23-24 of GSTR1. So when I download GSTR1 updated 23-24, when I compare with the 3B of 23-24, obviously there would be a difference. And such difference we will explain in my annual return, maybe reporting it into table 10 of R9, etc. Likewise, within input tax credit. Now, during the middle of the year, my input tax credit reporting has changed. It has changed in table 4, especially the way I take the gross input tax credit, the way I reverse the input tax credit. Errors could have happened, I have reversed it. I have availed an ineligible input tax credit, which I have reversed it. Now, for that credit, there might have been a credit note which I have not acted upon. Department has done the audit under section 65, or some investigation has happened, and I have reversed a credit using DRC 03. So you might still have any changes which is beyond the books of accounts which you're carrying through DRC 03. Now, any change like this happens, it should also have a corresponding effect in the books of accounts. Your books of accounts should be able to state the information. More importantly, the reason why we need to have reconciliation is the timelines at the assessment. Some of you are still doing the facing the department officer for a GST audit for financial year 17-18, and we are in the year financial year 23-24 or 22-23 is done. We are in the financial year 23-24 now. How many old the records are there? Who is the accountant then? And what is the level of knowledge that I had at that point in time while I have filed the returns? I have updated myself with the GST knowledge now. That doesn't mean that I'm carrying the same knowledge 5 years back. So it is quite inevitable that there could be errors that could have happened. How fast we will correct those errors, and how well we respond to those notices that are coming important. Trust me, the year financial year 23-24 would be flooded with notices, because the timeline to the department for finalizing audit for 17-18 under the regular, which is non-fraud cases, is getting over in this year. And most likely we've been waiting for this, the latest GST council meeting that to happen, hoping that there would be a final verdict that would be coming on formation of the tribunals. When tribunals are formed, there would be more rush for the filing the appeals which are pending at the after the disposal by first appellate authority. And some of them have also went to high courts, ensuring that there is no attachment owing to the liabilities that are being created by having paid the pre-deposit. So you would also find notices for various reasons. The objective of today's session is to look at what are the various types of notices that could be that would be relevant, and Lakshmi Madam would be taking those points, looking at by within what time we should reply and what should be my style of response, and should I give a detailed reconciliation? Should I say that this is not applicable because the books of accounts specified under section 35 or rule 56 doesn't warrant this? What should be my stand? Should at all I respond? How do I consider this is a valid notice? Just because there is a letter from the department, does it really make a notice, and should I need to respond to it? Is there any timelines? It's like these are the points that we are going to discuss. In the interest of everyone, you have been muted. In case if you have any questions, feel free to put your questions in the chat. We'll take up those questions appropriate time. At the end of the session, you will have an opportunity to unmute yourself and discuss. On this note, I welcome you all again to the session, and it's over to Lakshmi Madam to start the session. Madam, over to you.
Thank you, sir. already Venu sir has given the brief on what we are going to discuss on today's session. So the majorly what we will be discussing is what type of notices we may expect, and how to see whether the notice is valid, and how should we respond to the notices, and what happens if we won't respond in time. And if we respond, how we need to respond, whether we need to give the full details, whether we need to give the partial details, whether it's a preliminary, interim, or a final, or we should just give the preliminary objections and ask them to give a response to that first. So what we'll do is we'll just see how the different aspects of taxations are there. See, under GST, it is a self-assessment. If you remember, under VAT or income tax, we would have gone for the assessment when the department had called, and we would have closed the assessment for the financial year. And once the assessment is done, it is deemed to be an end of the litigation for that specific financial year, unless until any specific issue crops up. But under GST, whatever we do is a self-assessment. The concept of levy, that is what type of activity we are doing, and whether the transaction attracts GST or not. If the GST is applicable, what is the rate? Any exemption is available, any abatement is available, or any other type of deductions are available. All these we are self-assessing. So we assess what is our transaction, we assess what is the rate of tax we are going to charge, and we assess ourselves whether our transaction has any type of exemptions under 12/17. So this is the levy concept. After levy, what we do, we assess ourselves. That is what I explained in I clubbed the levy and assessment. So after these two things, what we are going to do, for example, each transactions attract GST. Are we paying immediately after the transaction GST amount to the government? No, that is the point the collection process comes into picture. So the Act gives us a specific time limit for different category of assessees when they need to pay the tax. I assess the liability of GST at transaction level, but I make the payment to the government at the end of the month or at the due dates given for the different category of people. For example, for a normal assessee, the tax has to be paid along with GST or 3B, that is 20th of the subsequent month. That is where the assessment completes from assessee side. So next process, this is one self-assessment collection will happen. Next, what happens is department process of collection by department. That means during the audit, during the scrutiny of returns, during any other proceedings, maybe search, investigation, etc. If they assess that I have paid less tax, short payment, or I have availed excess input tax credit, etc. situations, then they have to issue certain type of notices, depends upon the case-to-case basis, for collecting the taxes from the assessees. This, and we will be going to see what type of notices the government may issue. Next comes what type of notices we may expect. Under registration, what type of notices we may expect is, once we apply for a registration, they may give a deficiency memo for uploading certain documents or for clarifying certain clarifications, maybe address, maybe any other details. So once we clarify those transactions or those clarifications sought by the department, then they may approve your registration or deny your registration. So this is one small registration related. Composition scheme. Composition scheme, everybody is aware, there are certain conditions so that I have to, if I want to continue under composition scheme, I need to follow the conditions provided under section 10. If any of the conditions are not fulfilled, then we may expect a notice from the department. Okay, next, refunds. Whenever I file any kind of refund application, so every type of refund application need to be filed in RFD 01 itself. So once we make a refund application, if any of you have done, you would have noted that if they need any clarification or anything, they also issue a defect a notice. And for defect notice, there is no option for us to clarify it. Instead, we need to file a new refund application clarifying all the defects. And once the refund application is filed, again they may issue a show cause notice if they want to reject. And on what basis they want to reject, that may come across in the notice itself. And based on that, we need to file a reply, and again refund order will come. If the refund order sanctions the refund, then well and good. If it doesn't sanction the refund, then again the litigation process will go ahead, where we need to file an appeal to the Joint Commissioner Appeals and next to tribunal level. Input tax credit. I feel many of you might have already received the notices wherein at least eligibility of the ITC might have questioned, or non-appearing in GST or 2B may be questioned, or if your suppliers, anybody's registration is cancelled, then you might have received the notice. So there are plenty of notices which may come under input tax credit, but we have to see under which provisions they are going to issue a notice, whether it is under section 61, that is scrutiny of returns, or whether it will go to the 73, 74, that is demand notice. Under 73 is a normal period and 74 is for an extended period. And we might have received a notices for non-filing of returns. If we have not filed the GST returns, initially they'll issue a GSTR 3A notice. And even after that, if you have not filed, they may go and issue a ASMT 13. So these are the notices which may come up. And audit, for conduct of audit, from the intimation till the end of the audit, there are many points wherein the notice may come and we may require to respond to those notices. Similarly, in case of search seizure also, based on the case-to-case basis, the exchange of information between department and assessee will happen. Assessment will have, anyways, we know what is self-assessment, and notices may come under scrutiny of returns, and another will be non-filers of returns, and another will be where assessee is required to register but not registered. And next, demand and recovery, if we see the notice under 73, 74, as well as recovery under 79. If we won't respond it in properly, in that situation, it may go for recovery. And movement of goods, it is very pretty clear. 129, 130 deals with the movement of goods. If while transporting or while transporting the goods, if the transporter does not have all the documents, or if there is any deficiencies in the documents, then the notice under 129 come into picture. And penalty, if there is any transaction where we have not recorded properly, or any of the points of 122, there are 122, there is a list of around 20-22 items. If any one we have not followed, they may issue a notice for imposing penalty or asking you to pay the penalty. Okay, so I'll come from the assessment first. So as I have explained you, there are section 59 to section 54 deals with the assessment. Section 59 is a self-assessment wherein we ourselves assess and file the returns under section 39. That is our GSTR 3B. So it is from the taxpayer side, and it may take it for a scrutiny at later point time. By tax authorities, what type of assessments are there? Provisional assessments is there, summary assessment is there, scrutiny of returns are there, and best judgment assessment. So a provisional assessment will apply only in few cases, and as per my knowledge, many of the assessments won't go for provisional assessment because it takes more time, and also if it get confirmed at later point of time, the interest also will be keep on ticking till the time the final assessment order falls. I'll just give you an example when we can go for a provisional assessment. So we can go for a provisional assessment only in case where we are unable to determine the value or rate of tax at the time of supply of services or goods. In that situation, we'll apply for a provisional assessment by making an application to the department. And after giving the documents, one round of a meeting will happen or a personal hearing will happen, wherein the officer will tell what is the rate or what is the value on which we will be on which the assessee is required to make the payment of taxes. In case after that, after the officers gives the value or a tax on which the tax is to be paid, the assessee need to remit the same thing. And in the scrutiny, he may ask further documents and further clarifications. After that, he will file a final order. He will pass a final order. Once the final order comes, then I have to see whatever I was paying from the initially was correct or not. If it is a short payment is there, then how much ever is the short payment that I need to pay along with interest when the final order comes from the officer. And scrutiny of returns, if we see, whatever the returns we have filed under self-assessment method, that is section 39, the 3B which we have filed, that will be taken for a scrutiny. And in case of best judgment will happen only in two circumstances. One, I'm a registered, but I'm not filing my returns regularly, or I have not filed returns for a continuous period of 6 months or 1 year. In that situation, best judgment assessment can be done by the officer. Or in case where I'm a registered, but registration got cancelled for any of the reasons. So registration is cancelled, that means I have become unregistered person in that situation, or where I'm liable to register but I'm not at all unregistered. In these cases, best judgment assessment can be done by the officer. So first we'll see notice for scrutiny of returns. So first we'll see what the section 61 states and what the rule 99 states. Then we'll go for an example basis. So if we see the section 61, what it states is they'll take a return for a scrutiny and to see the correctness and verify the correctness of the return what we have filed. It may be an arithmetical accuracy. For example, we file GSTR 1 as well as GSTR 3B for every month. There may be a differences between GSTR 1 and 3B itself. So that may be verified during the scrutiny of returns. Or every month, what is the ratio of input tax credit taken by me? And if any of the months, if there is a sudden hike in the ITC availment, or suddenly there is a less availment of ITC, so the department officer may get a little of doubt on the ITC availed by the assessee, and he may ask you to give certain information or ask you to clarify by issuing a scrutiny returns. Then he may do a detailed assessment as well. So if he finds any discrepancy when he undertake the correctness or verify the returns filed by us, so and if there are any discrepancies, then he has to intimate the assessee in ASMT 10 the discrepancies whatever noticed by the officer while doing the scrutiny of returns. So in ASMT 10, it is not merely mentioning the discrepancy. He has to mention the quantification of tax if anything is to be paid along with interest. And he also required to provide a time of 30 days to us to respond back. And if you see, for each format of notice, there is already a supporting format given in the law itself in which we need to file the reply. For example, if I get a ASMT 10, I cannot file merely a simple reply in a normal letter. So there is a format called ASMT 11. So I need to use the format of ASMT 11 to file my reply. So here it is very important when the notice comes, under which section the notice is issued, under which format the notice is issued, and ascertaining that under which format we require to provide the data. So it's very, very important. So once we file the reply to the discrepancies noticed by the officer, then the officer will go through it, and if he is satisfied, then he'll pass ASMT 12 and close the file. If he is not satisfied, then what happens? If he is not satisfied with the explanatory or reasons provided by the assessee, then he has the options to conduct the audit or ask for the special audit to be done, or he can give you a notice for a search or he can issue a notice under 73 or 74. So if you see section 71, any notice given under 71 is not a conclusive notice. Based on the response to such notice, he has to follow the further 4 options given to him to conclude the case. So once you give any reply, it is not that the case will get closed unless until he issues a ASMT 12. So it is a basic step for him to go ahead for the next process if the discrepancies are not, if the reasons given by the assessee is not satisfactory in nature. So what does the rule specifically tells? If we see the rule, it merely gives us the forms in which the notice to be issued, in which the reply need to be filed, and what will be the conclusion of the issue. That is, if the ASMT 12 is issued by the officer, the issue is resolved or closed. If it is not issued, then he will be going to the next options, that is search, seizure, or investigation, or a notice under 73 or 74. And recently we have also received an instruction from the department how the scrutiny of returns will happen. In that, they have clearly said that DGRMA will select the returns for a scrutiny based on the risk parameters. See, whenever we will file GST or 3B, in many of the columns, if there is a difference in the values, we'll get a red color indication. So that may be one of the risk parameter. Or when they do the ratio analysis for the entire financial year or all the past financial year, if they find it that in one time you are availing more input tax credit and subsequently there is no ITC itself, or the tax payment, there is a lot of variations, except COVID period, other things, if they see the ratios, they may come to know that there may something is wrong or something is fishy. Based on that also, they may take the returns for scrutiny. And if you see in the instruction, second point is very, very important. They cannot ask any documents for doing the scrutiny of returns. Okay. If you see, whatever the information available on record, that means available in the portal, the GSTR 1, 3B, etc., whatever you have filed, based on that, if he is arithmetically or ratiotically, if he can identify any short payment or anything, then only he can issue ASMT 10. Merely seeking for documents, he cannot issue ASMT 10. If you get any ASMT 10, merely asking for the data that you have availed ITC of this much, but we don't know what is it and all, as a general notice, then you have to tell them under section 61, the documents cannot be asked or clarifications with respect to the documents cannot be sought. Only when there is any discrepancy, then only ASMT 10 need to be issued. And if you see the worksheet and supporting documents to issue ASMT 10 is also required to be uploaded in the portal. So it is not only the merely ASMT 10 intimating that you pay 10,000. Why I need to pay 10,000? From where the 10,000 difference is appearing? That data, that supporting worksheet, supporting document like GSTR 1, it is the turnover is 1 lakh. In 3B turnover is 80,000. That's the reason I'm giving this ASMT 10. This clarity should come up in ASMT 10. And what is the time limit for me to respond? 30 days of time is there. But if you see further period, if I require more time, 30 days is not sufficient for you to collect the data. As sir said, we are already in 23 or 24. But the notices we are getting is for the financial year 17-18 and 18-19. If you need more data or more time to get the data of those financial years, then you have to ask the proper officer to give little more time, maybe further 15 days of extra time. Okay. So I'm just given certain examples for what reasons the ASMT 10 may come up. So one difference may be your GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B. If there is any apparent error in GSTR 1 and 3B, as I said initial example, GSTR 1 turnover is 1 lakh, 3B coming, it is only 80,000. So in that situation, ASMT tenancy. And as you are aware, from Jan 2022, the invoices on which the input tax credit is availed should be appearing in GSTR 2B. And whatever is there in the GSTR 2B, same ITC need to be taken in 3B along with certain adjustments. If there are any differences between 3B and 2B, for that also the ASMT can be issued. Or sudden hike in availment of ITC, this point ASMT, if they are issuing, they should have a proper data to tell that why there is a difference in or why there is an excess availment of ITC with documentary evidence. If they don't have the documentary evidence, they cannot ask for any clarification by way of issuing a ASMT 10. Or if I have a exempted turnover or non-GST turnover, and if there is no reversal under ITC under Rule 42, and department has a documentation to the effect of that, then they can issue a ASMT 10. And last point which I've given in my PPT, for this reason we are getting more ASMT 10s as of now. For examples, supplier books have been audited and they found that he has not paid his output tax liability from the eligible input tax credit, or if he has given a fake invoice for 1 or 2 persons, or if registration is cancelled suo moto. So if anything has happened to the supplier, directly ASMT 10 has been given to the buyer, asking them to reverse the input tax credit. So for these reasons, ASMT 10 may be issued by the officers. This is just one example. So what I have taken is the main content of the ASMT 10 has been taken over here. If you see in this notice, the table has been given clearly wherein the tax declared in the R1, that is nothing but our GST R1, and tax value given in the GST R3B, there is a difference. So they have put the difference and asked you to give the clarification. If you see here, they have taken only 4 months. That means wherever there is a difference, only in those 4 months they have taken and asking you to give the clarification. So this is a pretty clear case of scrutiny of returns. And in this case, what we need to see whether the notice is properly issued, whether the notice is valid, that aspect we need to verify. We'll discuss this aspect in detail in subsequently in our presentation. So if this type of notice comes, what I need to do is I have to go back to that financial year and see what is the adjustment I have done. And I have to give a proper response to this notice in ASMT 11. And to whom I have to give the response? The person who has given the ASMT 10 to me. In this case, if you see, Assistant Commissioner of Commercial Tax has been given this notice to the assessee. So the registered person need to file the response to same authority. This is one case which is very good, where you can see there is a clear-cut difference in 1 and 3B, and the same thing they are asking, so I can understand and give the clarification for this. I'm showing you the next notice over here. If you see, this is also received by one of our clients. They are telling the discrepancy have been mentioned in the attached annexure, but the attachment itself was not available in the portal. What shall we do in these situations? If the attachment is not available, the annexure is not clear, if the annexure is asking further documents for examination of the issue, so these things cannot be done, cannot be undertaken by the department under section 61. 61 is merely a scrutiny. While doing scrutiny, if there is any error, arithmetical error, errors, etc., only for that this notice has to be issued. They cannot ask any further documentation by way of issuing ASMT 10. So for this notice, we may require to give a proper response. We are unable to understand what is the discrepancy which you are asking us to clarify. And we are unable to understand why you are asking the further documents in this regard. And we can give a reference to the instructions recently given by the department, wherein they themselves are clarified that department cannot ask further documentary evidence or documentary proof in ASMT 10. So if you see for the first notice, we are giving a clear explanation, giving the clarification for difference. But when it comes to the second notice, we are raising a preliminary objection by stating that what you want us to do is not clear and notice is invalid as it is asking further documents under ASMT 10. So you have to make this difference whenever you get any type of notices, not only ASMT 10, any type of notices. Okay. So scrutiny of returns is completed. So when next section under which we may receive a notice is under section 62. What section 62 deals about? Section 62 can give a notice to those registered taxable persons who fail to furnish their return under section 39 or 45. That is your monthly returns or annual returns or final returns, even after servicing a notice under section 46. What is the notice under 46? The 46 notice is a GSTR 3A, which is a automatically generated in the common portal if you won't file the return within the due date. So once this notice comes, in this notice, they'll give a 15 days of time to file the return. Even after we get a notice under GSTR 3A, and the assessee has not filed the returns within 15 days from the GSTR 3A date, in that situation, the proper officer can issue a notice under ASMT 13. So ASMT 13, for what purpose they'll issue? They'll do a best judgment assessment. How they can do a best judgment assessment? So they'll see from when I have not filed the returns. For example, from July or from April 23, I'm not doing the returns. So they'll see what is the turnover in the March 23. They'll do adding of 10% or 20% of the hike. Based on that, the officer will issue a notice under ASMT 13 requesting the registered person to pay the tax along with interest and late fee. And if I get this assessment order, that is ASMT 13, again, if we see the section 62, they have given one more option for us. If I file a return after getting this assessment ASMT 13, within 30 days of the day from the date of receiving of this ASMT 13, this ASMT 13 will be deemed to be withdrawn. So again, I'm getting a period of 30 days. And in recently, they have increased this 30 days to a 60-day time limit. They have increased to 60 days. If I won't do the return within this period also, what will happen? The ASMT 13 will be effective. That means it will become a appealable order under section 107. So for example, there is a skip of show cause notice. So whatever the ASMT 13 is there, that will be effective. That means whatever the amount of tax, interest, late fee demanded in the ASMT 13 will be applicable on the assessee. That means assessee need to pay to that extent, or else if you don't want to pay it, then he has to file an appeal to the Joint Commissioner Appeals or Deputy Commissioner Appeals to challenge it. So, and we have a time limit to file the appeal. 3 months is the time limit from the date of the receipt of the order. And if you won't file the appeal, then the recovery mechanism may be initiated by the departmental officers. And further, if you see what is the time limit they have to issue this ASMT 13. So they have a 5 years of time from the date specified under section 44. It is not from the date you have filed the annual returns. It is the date, that means due date specified under section 44. From the due date, they have a 5 years of time limit to issue ASMT 13. And ASMT 13 being an order, they have to upload the summary of the order in DRC 07 in GST portal. Okay, I've just given one notice example here. If you see one of the client, for them they have given a notice wherein they are clearly telling that the notice in form 3A under 46 for not filing return has been issued, requesting you to file the return within 15 days, but assessee has not filed. So with the available records or material with the office, they are issuing this notice of ASMT 13. If you see the methodology adopted by them, they've taken the tax declared in August 17, okay, for August 18. Why they didn't select July 17, sorry, July 18? So there may be no tax liability or reduced stock liability, or the last return filed by the assessee may be of August 17 only. Post that they have not at all issued. So they have added 10% of hike, estimated the August payment. And if you see ITC also, they're estimated whatever is there into a 50%, they're estimating it to be a eligible credit, and they're giving a benefit of that and asking the assessee to pay the tax interest. So if this type of notice is issued, what we need to do? Once any ASMT 13 is issued, first thing we have to do is we have to file the return within 30 days from the date of receipt of the ASMT 13. If we file the return within 30 days, then we can give a letter to the officer by stating that I have filed the returns. Please withdraw the ASMT 13. If we have not filed the returns, what happens? If assessee does not respond to the ASMT 13, then the ASMT 13 will be considered as an order issued under section 107. So once it is an effective order, the assessee has to an appeal. If the appeal is not been filed within the time, then the recovery under section 79 can be initiated. So how they may recover? One, through bank attachment, they can freeze your bank account, or they can issue a notice to the bank account under DRC 13. Directly to your bank, they can issue a notice and ask them to remit the tax portion to the department, or they can ask your customer to remit directly to the government instead of making payment to you. Or if you have filed any refund application, they can withhold the refund if it is sanctioned, or they can do the any other proceeding to recover the taxes as an arrears of state tax or union tax, etc. Okay, so this is with respect to the non-filers of return. So if the returns is not filed, first way you will get a notice under 3A. If you won't file by within time of 15 days, then they'll give you a ASMT 13. If you won't file the return within 30 days, then ASMT 13 will become the effective order. And if you won't file an appeal within 3 months of time, then recovery proceedings may be initiated. So we have to keep a hold of it and see if we couldn't file within 30 days, at least we have to prefer an appeal. So to prefer an appeal, assessee is required to make a pre-deposit of 10%. So this is the effect of not filing returns within time limit. So next, unregistered person. So section 63 deals with unregistered person. So what are the scenarios it will get cover is, suppose a person is liable to be registered under GST, but he has not obtained the GST. Registration has not been obtained. Once registration is not obtained, of course, he has not paid the taxes. In this situation, the officer with the available information has to issue a notice. If you see here, it is not an order, it is a notice. If you compare with the section 62, in section 62, the word used was an order. Here, what we are using is a notice. Notice is the notice under ASMT 14. Once it is a notice means we'll get a opportunity of personal hearing as well. So if you see, ASMT 14 is nothing but a show cause notice, and summary of the notice also need to be uploaded in the portal under in the form DRC 01. So if they merely issue a manual notice, it is not proper. They have to upload the summary in DRC 01 in the portal as well. And they'll give a time of 15 days to respond it. And also they have to give a personal hearing, that is opportunity of hearing need to be given before passing the order. So the assessee need to file reply and final order will be passed in ASMT 15. So the order passed under ASMT 15 and summary of the order in DRC 07 is need to be uploaded in the portal. And against this ASMT 15, if we are aggrieved, that means we are against the decision of the department, then I need to file an appeal before the authority along with the pre-deposit. And what is the time limit available for them to issue this notice? They have a 5 years time from the due date of filing the annual returns. Okay, to which such failure relate. For example, 18-19 you have done, 18-19 is a financial year wherein they have started their business and they were supposed to, they were required to register under GST, but they did not register. So what will be the due date of 18-19 of GST 9? From that date, 5 years of time they'll get to issue a notice under section 63. And this section doesn't cover the person who was not registered. The person who is registered, his registration is cancelled for any of the reasons. Even that person will come and sit under section 63. He may expect a notice under section 63. Even the registration is cancelled, the person will be carrying his business. That means he has to pay the taxes. So officer can do the assessment under section 63 against such type of taxpayers. Okay, this is the assessment. If you see the assessment, we saw 3 assessments.
Yeah, before we move to it, I would like to just bring out some of the points that came up in the discussion. So that, just for a reiteration. So, friends, if we notice whatever the madam has discussed so far, which is assessment for multiple reasons. One is based on the returns that have already been filed under 61. An officer is doing an assessment based on the information that is available. There, if you have noticed that madam said, within 30 days, one should be making a reply or response. Second, an unregistered person's, when the assessment was happening, even there we have noticed that the reply has to be done within so and so time. Else, if you notice the example, beautiful example which madam has taken, as the officer has taken August 17 turnover and added 10% and made it to August 18 turnover. While if you have seen that 2A, he has taken 50% of 2A, which was 29,000. For a moment, assuming that value is correct, the value of the 2A is 58,000, but the value which they have taken for the turnover is 8 lakhs. Look at the margin that has been done. So, in any case where the notices, if you are seeing the reasons that have been brought out for the discussion is, there existed some mismatch, there existed some information gap. So, to bring to the original context of the discussion, notice, when you get a notice, it really doesn't mean that you have done something wrong. And madam also clearly explained that after you file a valid return when they have sent a notice, then your notice is like deemed withdrawn. So you need to build the ability to see and respond to the notice. First and foremost, what was more importantly required was to see under which section that notice was issued. When it was section 61, read with the rule 99, you would be finding on the top of it as ASMT 10. So under GST, for every particular action an officer is doing, there is a specified information that is given in the act and the rules. The first primary duty of the SSE would be verify the correctness of the document itself. Question the notice whether this is a valid notice for you to respond or not. Then look at the timelines within which you need to respond. Madam also has brought in that the liability that would come, demand that would come under 73, 74. Like after effects, what if it is not filed? What is it going to happen? Even those things that we have seen, right? So they are the primary procedures where different types of assessments of the returns filed, not filed, or not registered person also. Now, the next set that we are dealing would be in audit, like how a chartered accountants like us, where we do an audit and issue 9C, which was earlier mandatory, now it is like a self-explanatory. How department would be doing an audit, what would be their focus is what we'll be looking into. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Shall I continue, sir?
Yes,
Yes, thank you, sir. There was one question I feel on 21A, that is suspension of registration, registration of cancellation. If the assessor does not conduct any business from the declared place of premises, that is also one of the reason for cancellation of registration. And for this, if you have received any notice, you have to give a clarification. What is your place of business? And if there is a change in the place of business, have you informed to the department? Have you made the amendment in the registration? Those aspects also need to be seen. And if there is actually factually whatever you have done is proper, the same thing need to be put in the reply and clarification need to be submitted to the department. Okay, next, we just saw the assessments under different sections. So after assessment, from where the notice can be issued, primarily one is search. Search can be done. After search, it can be converted into an investigation, or they can come for an audit. So when they come for an audit, how they will come? So simply they'll come and ask you for the books of accounts? No, they cannot. They have to issue a ADT-01 intimating that they want to conduct the GST audit for which financial year and from when they want to conduct and under which section they want to conduct and who is the person who is conducting the audit. These requirements need to be intimated to the assessee before they conduct the audit. So they cannot come today and ask you to give the books for verification or for search or for any of the audit. So if they cannot ask you to give the documents for an audit immediately, first they have to give an intimation and also they have to give a time limit so that you can make arrangement of the documents, whatever they would have sought in the annexure. They would have given a clear list of number of documents, what they may require for the audit. And after intimation, they may come to the premises of the taxpayer to do the audit, or they can ask the taxpayer to bring the documents, whatever they have called for, and they can do the audit at the department office itself. So these two types of audits may start. Once I receive this audit, this notice, what is the action I need to take? So whether the documents are available, whether whatever the documents they have sought and the time given by them, is it sufficient for me to provide those documents? If it is not sufficient, then I may require to give a letter to them seeking additional time to submit the documents or seeking additional time so that they can postpone their visit of audit to our premises so that I can keep all the data ready so that I can cooperate with them properly so that they can conclude the audit within the time limit provided. Once audit status, what is the procedure? So ADT-01 will be given to conduct the audit prior to commencement of the audit. So audit will commence based on the information given by the assessee, and that need to be completed within 3 months. If it is not possible to conclude within 3 months, then the officer need to take the permission of the commissioner or principal commissioner to extend the audit time period. So once the audit is done, they have to issue audit observations. That is nothing but the findings made by the officer during the audit of books of accounts of the assessee. So that observation would be communicated in ADT-01A. And for this, the assessee can do the response, but there is no specific format provided in the law to submit the response. In that situation, we can create our own format and do the response to the audit observations. Once we make an audit observations, based on that, the officer may edit his final observations, or he may ignore our submissions, or he may not consider. For him, it may not be satisfactory for him to conclude the issue. In that situation, what he'll do, he'll issue a final audit report called ADT-02. So once the AD202 is issued, it is confirmed that show cause notice would be issued in DRC01. That is a summary of notice in DRC01. Along with that, a proper show cause notice would be served on the assessee. So under which section they have to serve the show cause notice? If we see, there are two sections, that is section 73, section 74. As of now, we'll understand section 73 will be applicable when there is no fraud, no misstatement, no collusion, etc. That means with intention, we have not done anything. With intention, we have not evaded the payment of tax. That will fall under section 73 category. What goes to section 74? Where there is an element of misstatement, where there is an element of fraud to avoid the payment of tax by the assessee. In that situation, with the proper evidence, with the proper allegations, then only the notice under 74 can be issued. If the allegations are not there, if it is not supported by the documentary evidence, at a later stage, the notice issued under 74 may be converted into section 73 notice, that is without fraud, etc., etc. So this is the difference between 73 and 74. For what purpose the notice under 73, 74 can be issued? One is for a short payment, or one is for a non-payment of GST, or erroneous refund if we have claimed. For example, capital goods refund cannot be claimed, which we have claimed by mistakenly. For that also notice can come into picture. Or if there is an excess availment of input tax credit or utilization of input tax, excess availed input tax credit. For these reasons, the section 73 or section 74 notice can be issued by the officer to the taxpayer. And section 75 is very, very important because it gives certain procedures based which is need to be followed by the proper officer when he issue a notice under 73 and 74. We'll see certain provision of 73 in coming slides. This is same thing is there. Okay, what is the time limit provided to issue a show cause notice? If we read the law, it doesn't give any time limit for show cause notice. It gives a time limit to issue the order. So we need to understand what is notice and what is order. When you see a show cause notice, this is merely a proposal of demand. That means why we should not ask you to pay this much of amount for this reason. So they are merely proposing you to why we should not demand this much. It is not a confirmed liability on the assessee. It is merely a proposal made by the officer. That is called as a show cause notice. What is order? Order is a way the officer is confirming the liability on the taxpayer. Wherein he is stating the taxpayer is liable to pay this much of the tax amount along with interest and penalty. So I hope you are making the difference between notice and order. Notice is a proposal. Order is a confirmed demand. Okay. So in section 73 or section 74, they have given a time limit by which an order need to be passed, not the show cause notice. So let us understand by when the officer need to pass an order. So if it is section 73 notice, if it is an order under section 73, that is without fraud, without any reason of fraud, then it is a 3 years. In case it is with the fraud, then the time limit is of 5 years to pass an order. So now we are coming when the notice need to be issued. So it is like reversal method. First they have given a time limit for passing an order. Then they are telling before this many months available to pass an order, they have to issue a show cause notice. I'll just give you an example so that we can understand in a better manner. First we'll go without fraud case. No fraud, nothing. So in that situation, by when they have to pass an order? Within 3 years. Correct? From which date? From the due date of furnishing annual return. Okay. And in case of a refund, from the date of refund, they have to pass an order within 3 years. When the show cause notice to be issued? 3 months prior to the issuance of order. So that means if the order is issued by 31st of December 2024 or 2023, we'll take it this financial year. 31st December 23 is the last date for passing an order. Then before 3 months, that means by 30th of September 2023, show cause notice should be issued. Similarly, when it comes to with fraud case, we have a 5 years of time from the due date of filing the annual return. If it is a tax matter, if it is an erroneous refund matter, from the date of refund, it is a 5 years of time. So when they have to issue a show cause notice, 6 months prior to the issue of an order, assume the order under 74 need to be passed by 31st of December 2024. But they have to issue a show cause notice by June end. So that before 6 months, they have to pass, that is 30th of June 2024, they have to issue a show cause notice proposing the demand of tax along with interest and penalty. And there will be a sufficient period of time to the assessee so that he can respond to the show cause notice. And there is no time limit provided in the statutory time limit is not provided for responding to the show cause notice. So usually the notices will give reasonable period of 30 days. Majority of the notices will give reasonable period of 30 days. In few notices, they'll give you 15 days. And based on the issue, based on the documents required, we can ask for little more time or further 15 days of time to provide the response to the show cause notice. So are we clear with the limitation period? The show cause notice should be issued when there is no fraud cases 3 months before the end of the date for passing an order. So order date is of 31st December means by 30th September, show cause notice should have been issued. Post that, they cannot issue a show cause notice for 17-18 transactions. Similarly, in case of a fraud, 6 months prior to the due date of passing an order. Okay, if this table contains the extended time limit. So if you would have seen the first time limit based on the due date, original due date of the filing of annual returns, the time limit would have been lapsed. Which time limit? Section 73 ka time limit, that is without fraud cases. But recently they issued a notification 9/2023. Wherein they have increased the time limit under 73. Normal period time limit has been increased. For the period 17-18, they have a time to issue the show cause notice till 30th September 23. And all the show cause notices issued under section 73 of 17-18 should be concluded or order should be passed by 31st of December 2023. If it is not passed by that date, it is deemed to be concluded in favor of assessee. So time limit is very important for the officers also, as well as for the assessee. So I need to see the notice and see the validity of the notice and see the issue and respond it properly. If the show cause notice is issued, I need to respond it in DRC 06. If the order is issued in DRC 07, then I need to do an appeal in APL 01 form. As of now, tribunal is not formed. If tribunal is formed and I have to go to the next level of appeal, then the APL 04 need to be used for filing an appeal to the tribunal. Okay. So in case show cause notice is issued and I don't want to litigate, I want to pay and close it, is there any option for reduction of penalty? Yes. And there is a difference between 73, 74. As we have seen, 73 is without fraud. So they have given lot of benefits for the assessees wherein notice is issued under 73. If you agree to pay the tax with interest before issue of show cause notice or within 30 days from the receipt of show cause notice, then no penalty need to be paid by the assessee. In case order is passed, in that situation also the maximum penalty is 10% of the tax demanded, only the tax, no interest and penalty. 10% of the tax or 10,000, whichever is higher. That is, maximum penalty can be 10% of the tax amount if the notice is issued under section 73. If the notice is issued under 74, and if you are agreeing this, yes, I have done fraud, yes, I want to pay and close it, you also have the option, but there is no nil penalty option. Minimum penalty is 15% and maximum penalty is 100%. If you want to close the issue before issue of show cause notice, pay the tax, pay the interest, pay 15% of penalty, and concludes the matter. If you could not avail this benefit and after issue of show cause notice you decides to pay, then you have to pay it within 30 days from the communication of the show cause notice. You have to pay the tax, interest, and 25% of the tax as a penalty. After notice also you didn't opt, but order has come, then you want to close this as it is not getting closed. In that situation, maximum penalty payable is 50%, and you have to pay this within 30 days from the communication or receipt of order in original, that is order. So we have seen section 73 what it is, 74 what it is, what is the time limit given, and for what purpose 73 or 74 can be issued. So just we saw short payment or non-payment or excess availment of ITC or erroneous refund. Apart from this, whatever the assessment notices we discussed, if anywhere we are not satisfying the officer, they can come back and issue a notice under section 73. And section 74 merely gives you a lot of procedure and lot of effective points which need to be followed by the proper officer while he passes a notice on order. For example, if a show cause notice is vague or an order is a non-speaking order, it is invalid, because section 75 clearly states the order should be a speaking order. What is the meaning of speaking order? The DRC 01 was issued, that is a show cause notice for some of the reason, and I have filed a DRC 06, that is a reply to the show cause notice, by putting across my all objections along with documentary evidences. So whatever the clarification given by the assessee and the documents given by the assessee need to be considered by the officer before he passes the impugned order, before he passes the order in original. So if he won't consider any of my submissions and if he merely confirms the demand, that means it is a non-speaking order which is against section 75 and it is invalid and it is required to be challenged, and that will be quashed at next level. So if the order is passed by Joint Commissioner Appeals, then I go to the tribunal and tell the order is passed, does not does not consider the submission made by me. In that situation, if it is held to be invalid, that means the order will be quashed at tribunal level. And can the order be passed without giving personal hearing? No, because it is against the principles of natural justice. Any notice is issued to the assessee, there should be an opportunity of personal hearing given by the officer before confirming the demand. If he wants to drop the demand, at least to a certain extent, he can ignore the opportunity of personal hearing. But if he is going against the assessee, then he has compulsorily need to give the opportunity of personal hearing. Not only the opportunity of personal hearing, if we are seeking an adjournment, he has to give at least 3 adjournments to us. He cannot tell that come on this day, or else I'll close or else I'll pass the ex parte order. This cannot be done by the officer. He has to give me the adjournment if there is a sufficient reason by the assessee. And he need to give 3 adjournments. Suppose that also if the assessee is not appearing, then he can go and pass a best judgment or ex parte order can be passed by the officer. And in case the officer feels that the notice is issued under 74 is not correct, then he can convert the notice is issued under 74 to a 73. That means 5 years time limit can be reduced to 3 years of a time limit. Also, it is very important, whenever if you see a DRC 01, they'll impose the penalties under all sections like 175, 122, 74, all sections. But if we see the section 75 subsection 13, which clearly states that once the penalty under 73 or 74 is imposed, No other penalties under the Act can be imposed on the assessee. So one error, one penalty under 73 or 74. No other penalties. If 74 penalty is not imposed, then they can impose the penalty under other sections. If the 74 penalty or 73 penalty is imposed, no other sections penalty can be imposed on the assessee for the same discrepancy. Okay, this is with respect to 73, 74 notice and what is the details which need to be followed by the 75. So now we see how the notice should be. So if you see a DRC 01, that is a show cause notice or any other notice is issued by the officer. First, I need to see the validity of that notice. First, I need to see who has issued the notice, whether it is signed, whether it's a valid, are they issued under proper section. So all these things to be noticed. Why it is important to see the notice, whether it is proper or not. If you won't see whether the validity of the notice is proper or not, and if you respond to that notice without objecting the validity of the notice, then at a later stage, you cannot raise a question on the validity of the notice. That is what is clearly stated in section 160 subsection 2. Okay. So if you need to raise any preliminary objection like validity of the notice and all, you have to raise at the beginning itself. You cannot postpone the argument of validity of notice to the next level. If you are not questioning the validity of notice, that means you are accepting it and going ahead. And also, if you see the section 160 subsection 1, it's pretty very much in favor of an officer. If they do as minor errors, if they omit certain sections referring, or any of the invalid, if they mention an invalid section, but the contents given is of the valid section, in those cases, the notice cannot be held to be invalid. It is a valid only as per section 160 subsection 1. So they have a more powers wherein even though they have done small errors or wherein they have mentioned a wrong section number, even then that notice is valid. And also, show cause notice need to be served physically and only summary of the notice need to be uploaded in the portal. So in many cases, these procedures have not been followed. If it is not followed, raise these objections at the preliminary level itself. If you are not raising it at later on, you will not be able to take the advantage of this preliminary objections. And any of the notice need to be served, that is valid mode of service of notice under section 169. One may be physical delivery or through a dispatch, registered post or speed post, electronic, that is your email and GST portal, or they can print in newspaper. If they are unable to do any of the above, they can affix the notice in your office, where your office was located or where your residence is there, or they can affix the notice in the notice board of the concerned officer. So if they are unable to connect in the above 4 methods, that is physical delivery, dispatch delivery, electronic or print medium, then they'll be affixing it to your residence or business address. That is also not possible and you did not communicate. Then the notice will be affixed in the concerned officer's premises. And if you see, there is a concept of delivering it to you. So in case of a postal delivery, yes, I have a proof that it is delivered to me, tendered to me. In case of a hand delivery, yes, there is a proof it was delivered. In case they send an email, there is no delivery happened. There is no proof that they have delivered the notice to you. That means the email has been sent, but I have not at all seen it. So what happens? The notice was served in April itself. Now it is in June. Now I am able to see it. It's already lapse of 2 months of time, but the notice has been seen today. So that means today is the date of receipt of the notice. Yes, that is what we need to consider, because as in case of other situations, we have some documentary evidences where the notice has been served to us, when the notice has been served to us. In case of email or a portal, there is no proof unless and until we see, there is no proof. So we have to intimate the officer. We have seen only on this date. This is the date of communication to us. And from this date, I'll avail the time limit provided to the respective notices. So next, validity, how it has to be seen. So you have to see who is the authority who has given a notice to you, whether he has the power to issue the show cause notice to you. He is the jurisdictional officer. Can he issue a notice for that issue? And to whom it has been issued, whether it is issued to the company, whether it is issued to the managing director, whether it is issued to an already deceased person or a director, whom it has been issued, that is very, very clear. That should be seen properly so that the same person need to do the response to the notice. And jurisdiction also, whether center has issued the notice or state, or already this issue has been taken over by center, can the state again issue a notice? So these are all the preliminary validity points which we need to check when the show cause notice is issued. And also you need to see under which section they have issued the show cause notice. Can they issue a notice under 74? Have you really done the fraud or misstatement, or was there any fraud from your side? So are you accepting this? If it is not there, if you are not accepting, what is the validity? Have you intimated any of the transaction to the officer? Are you disclosing all your transaction in your GST returns? See, this is where it is important. Even if it is a non-GST transaction, even if it is an exempted transaction, you need to disclose it in your returns. If you are not disclosing any of the contents in your returns, then it may be a suppression of information to the department. So they may invoke section 74. So they may impose you 100% of penalty. So see, whatever the statutory returns you are filing, whatever the statutory statements you are filing in the portal, give full details. So you'll avoid the fraud tag or misrepresentation or misstatement of facts tag from from the departmental officers. And provisions invoked in the notice. If it is an input tax credit related aspect, have they invoked section 16? That is very essential, no? Eligibility as well as conditions. They have to specifically, for example, if they tell you have not fulfilled the condition of section 16, it is not clear. It is a very vague. Which condition is not fulfilled? That is what they need to specifically establish. For example, you don't have the invoice, they have to invoke section 16(2)(a). If the supplier has not paid the tax, then invoke section 2 subsection 2 16(2) and C. So they have to specifically give the sub clauses also under which the condition of availing ITC has been violated. So you have to see what is the provision under which the notice has been issued, whether it is correct or not. It is not the merely notice you take and see what is the difference and do the response. No. See who has issued, whether he has signed it, at least digitally, as if the signature is valid, as if the signature is verified, and to whom it is issued, whether the officer issued does have the power to issue the show cause notice, under which section he has issued, what are the provisions referred by him. So all these points need to be considered when you receive any show cause notice or any type of notice. You see the sections and refer those sections and match it, whether the section referred in the notice and contents given in the notice are not matching or not. If it is not correct, raise the objection then and there itself. Don't give any points on merits. Just give a points on validity of the notice itself. So there are next, this is a preliminary objection. See, now we have come to the first point, which need to be seen whenever I receive a notice. So if we see the note, this circular, department has issued a circular wherein they have prescribed the monetary limit. That means if the tax demand is 10 lakh of CGST, 10 lakh of SGST, that is 20 lakh, then superintendent can issue a show cause notice. If the demand is more than 20 lakh, less than 2 CR, then AC or DC has to issue a show cause notice. If demand is more than 2 crores, then additional commissioner or joint commissioner need to pass a show cause notice. Assume your show cause notice value is at 25 lakhs. and superintendent has issued the show cause notice. Is it valid? No. Why? Superintendent has the power to issue a show cause notice up to 20 lakh. There and then itself it is invalid. If the 25 lakh demand is made by a superintendent, just take this preliminary objection and show cause notice will be invalid. So this is the importance of seeing who has issued the show cause notice and what is the value involved in the notice. Next, I need to see whether the notice issued procedure, whatever the procedure followed by the proper officer is correct or not. If any person comes for a search or inquiry, I need to ask for authorization, because if the officer is below the rank of joint commissioner, then you should have an authorization from the joint commissioner to do the search or inquiry. And if you won't object the search at the initial point of time, and if you give the evidences to them, that is documents, etc., even though search was illegal, the documentary evidences collected will become valid. See, the importance of questioning at the beginning is this. If it is illegal, don't give anything. Tell them it is illegal because you don't have the authorization and we are not going to allow you to conduct the search of the premises or search of the books of accounts. Get the authorization, then only do it. In case, if you allow them to do, even though search was illegal, but whatever the data they recover from you, that will become a valid. And this has been held in the Supreme Court itself. And as I said, GST is a self-assessment. So if there is a short payment or non-payment, then only a notice can be issued. Unless until it is proved, it cannot be issued. And always the burden that there is a short payment or non-payment lies in the hands of department. Department has to prove that I have not paid the taxes, or I have availed the exemption which is not eligible, or I have availed the deductions which is not available to me. Everything need to be proved by the department. There is nothing that I need to prove them. The department should issue a notice that you are not paid the taxes for this reason. They have to establish why I was liable to pay the tax. This is also covered. Yes. So now in November 2019, so there was a concept of DIN, that is document identification number. So whenever a central government or central GST officer serves any notice, it should contain the DIN reference number. If the DIN number is not available, that means the notice is invalid. Only two exceptions are there, that is technical error or notice to be issued in urgency. Even in these cases, within 15 days, they have to give a DIN references. If the DIN reference is not given, the notice is invalid. This is also one of the preliminary objection which need to be raised. And also, if you see, previously, there was a rule 142. 1A was introduced from October 2019, wherein it said, before issue of a show cause notice, there should be a form DRC-01A need to be issued to the assessee by intimating the tax liability, interest, penalty, whatever is required to be assessed or whatever is required to be paid by him. So first they were required to intimate or communicate the liabilities through DRC-01A. This was compulsory till October 2020. So if they are not issued DRC-01A, that means it is an invalid procedure. So the show cause notice will be invalid. However, the word shall was replaced with may. So now proper officer may issue DRC-01A, he may not issue. But the time period of 1 year, that is October 2019 to October 2020, if any show cause notice issued in this period of time, the DRC-01A was compulsory before issuing a show cause notice. If the DRC-01A is not issued, then the SCN is invalid. Okay, wherever the specific time limit is not given in the law, 15 days to 13 days will be the reasonable time limit given by the departmental officer, and case to case basis, if required, we can ask for the extension of time. So what is that we need to consider before doing a respond to a show cause notice or any of the notices? First, we need to get the notice from the officer with all the supporting relied upon documents. If you see any of the notice at the end, they would have given a certain documents based on which the notice has been given. If you have only notice, you cannot do a proper response. You should have all the supporting documents based on which the officer has done the officer has issued the notice. Similarly, you have to make a note of when you have received the show cause notice or any of the notice and make note of it with the proof. If they have given the envelope, keep the envelope copy with you because that will be act as a proof to prove that you have received the notice on this day. And you also make a note of mode of communication of the notice, whether it is a courier, or it was handed over by hand, or it was sent to an email, whether it was uploaded in the portal, whether it was affixed to your business premises. So you have to see the mode of communication, whether it is a proper communication also you need to see. And also you have to see the jurisdictional officer. So who has issued the notice, whether for your address, for your principal registered place of business, whether he is a jurisdictional office. So that also need to be verified. And what is the name and address of the notice? So in many cases, what happens, they'll issue a different GST number and they'll address it to you. So there are many places where it happens that notice is addressed to ABC and GSTIN reference is of XYZ. So in this situation, this is also one of the objection which we need to raise, whether the notice has been issued to us or not, we have a confusion because the name of the assessee and GSTIN mentioned is different. So we can seek the clarification from the department itself whether the notice is issued on us or not. And you have to see provision under which the notice is issued, whether it is a ITC related section 16, whether it's a valuation related section 15, whether it's a time of supply related section 12 and 13, whether it's a debit note or credit note related issue, and what is the section and rules referred by the officer while issuing the notice. And also you have to keep the sequential events from the beginning. For example, audit is conducted by way of issuing of a ADT1 till the show cause notice issued, what and all the correspondence has happened. The sequential event need to be maintained properly with documentary evidence. Whatever the documents you give to the officer, please take an acknowledgement for providing such documents to the officer. If you don't have the acknowledgement, if you personally go and meet every time and explain and come, there is no record and you will not be able to prove it at a later point of time that you have given a clarifications to them. So whenever you give any kind of documents, whether you meet him personally or not, please take an acknowledgement for all the documents provided to the officer. So this will be in your favor at a later point of time. And also whenever you, if you are doing the responses, whenever you get any kind of notices, you see the earlier correspondence. For example, 1920, you have got this notice. Have they issued the similar notice for 1819? Have they issued the similar notice for 1718? Is this a periodical notice or is it a new notice? How to respond? If you have already responded, then you cannot go out of your facts which have already stated. So knowing the earlier proceedings, earlier communications will give you a better idea to do the response to the present show cause notice issued to you. So always better see the earlier correspondence file. The assessee might have given some clarification. He might have stated some facts which may be against you, or now he might have given a different facts itself. So you have to correlate. Factually, we cannot go wrong anywhere. Whatever we have stated earlier, the same thing need to be followed at later point of time. If you change your facts, then the case will be the case will go in the hands of department, because facts are very, very essential. Whenever you put across your facts, give the documentary evidence of it. For example, if you tell that you have started the business only in the January 23, give the details of it. Whatever the registrations you have taken, whatever the purchase you have done, or the trade name is taken, you have taken it from Jan. So that is the beginning. Or if you have if it is a company incorporation certificate. So that is a documentary proof that your company is started from that date. Previous to that, there is no turnover, no company, nothing. So these are all very, very essential facts. So I have to make a notes. Till now we saw whether validity of the notice, what we need to see, and how we need to address preliminary objections. But what is the essentially coming into on merits? So when we receive a notice, we have to see what is the dispute or disputes. It may not be a one issue, it may be a more than one issue. So I have to make note of the issues and what is the provisions under which the dispute has been arised. And see whether the time available to you is sufficient to do the response. If not, please ask for extension. And see the mode of communication of the notice proper or not, jurisdiction proper or not, and monitor limit. That is quite important. And whether the officer has given all the relied upon documents and earlier proceedings, sequential facts, this I've already covered. And see whether any exemption or concession is available to the assessee. Notice may tell that you are not eligible for exemption, but I need to assess it again properly, whether actually I'm eligible for an exemption or not. And if there is an allegation is with respect to the computation, then compare it. For example, ASMT 10 we saw R1 and R3 difference was there. In between months, there may be a cases that R1 was less and R3 and 3B was more, and that they would have not completed because it is more. So if we overall do the adjustment for the entire financial year, the difference may be 0. So I need to give this. So the method of computation, comparison, whether the comparison done by the notice is correct. See, many times what happens if you get a notice for 2B and 3B, that is ITC available in 3B, ITC available in 2B, they'll pick only in those months where I availed excess input tax credit. They won't even consider where I've availed less input tax credit. So if the department is specifically taken only 3-4 months, then I need to give the entire financial year data to them. See, sir, in this month I have taken less, in this month I have taken more, overall effect is 0. So this is very important, whether have they considered entire financial year or only 1 or 2 months. So this also need to be seen. If the show cause notice is majorly depending upon the computation part, then I have to give the proper reconciliation statements along with the documentary evidences. And if I'm eligible for any exemption or anything, I have to give the documentary proof that I have claimed this exemption and this is the benefit. And the ball will be in the court of department to prove why I'm not eligible to claim that type of exemption. And also I need to see on the issue for which the notice has been issued, is there any decided case laws? If you see recently Kolkata High Court decision had come in a cargo case, wherein they clearly said where the buyer has availed the ITC and supplier's registration was cancelled suo motu. The court has come up and said clearly at the time of purchase made by the assessee, the supplier was registered and his status was showing as a registered and active. And buyer has a documentary proof that he has purchased the goods, e-way bill is there, invoice is there, payment has been made for the bank, proof is there. In that situation, ITC cannot be denied to the buyer. So there are many judicial decisions for many of the issues which we can relay and do the submissions to the department. So now coming to the drafting. So how to draft the reply? It is always better do the draft in a simple English language which can be understood by any of the officer or anybody. So if you use too many technical words or too many technical or good English words, so the officer may not be able to understand and come back to you. So it is always better give a presentation of your reply should be in a very simple manner, and the response should be point to point. Don't give more information also. See what is the allegation made in the notice. Give response only to such notices, such allegations. But don't leave any findings from rebutting. Rebut each and every allegation and finding given in the notice and order. Don't leave away any of the allegation made in the notice, but give it in a simple manner. And if you have a supporting document, enclose the supporting documents, give the reference of a supporting document, give the page number of the supporting document. So it will be easy for the officer to look into it and give the relief. And when you submit any of the facts, be clear when you submit the facts. You will not be able to change at later point of time. If you tell you are a manufacturer of books, you are a manufacturer of books only. You may add on to it, but you cannot tell you are not a manufacturer of books at a later point of time. And for each and for almost all types of facts, it is better you support the facts with documentary evidences. And how the structure of reply should be there. So first you will give the facts. How the facts should be, you will introduce about yourself. That means the company, what is into the company, whether company is a manufacturing company or it is a trading company or it is a service oriented company, and give a general 1 or 2 paragraphs of nature of company which are relevant to the case. For example, you are having 10 type of services, but the notice is issued only for one type of service. Only give a reference of that type of service. What was your service? What was your understanding? And what you have done in your returns. So only these 3 paragraphs, if you give, that would be sufficient in your facts. After that, you have to give the sequential facts. I told from the when the initial ADT1, that is intimation of notice, came till the date of notice DRC01 is issued, all the communication, whatever is happened, that sequential facts should be given. Based on this facts only, the proposal has come up in the notice, that is DRC06. So these facts are very, very essential for the officer, for us as well as them. And based on these sequential facts, what they are proposing and the reason of proposal also need to be given in the reply. So this is the facts. So what is the company is doing, and what is the actual facts, and what is the sequential facts to do the proposals. And if the proposal, for example, if the show cause notice is issued demanding 1 lakh of rupees of tax, then for what reason this proposal is happening? Is it R1 and R2, R3B difference, or the rate of tax applied by me is 12%, wherein department is asking us to pay 18%? Whatever may be the reason, that reason for proposal, the allegation in the notice should come in facts itself. After facts, you will come to preliminary objections. What are preliminary objections? Whether the jurisdiction is correct, whether the notice is properly signed, whether the notice is properly served, whether the summary of the notice is uploaded in the portal, whether the notice as per monetary limit, whether the proper officer has issued the notice, whether the jurisdictional officer only has issued the notice. All these preliminary grounds or submission needs to come initially. After that, issue by issue, you have to address. So if one issue is 2B versus 3B, first you will address that. And another issue is you have filed your GST 3B post due date of 16/4. So input tax credit is disallowed. That issue will come. Next issue, your cotton, whatever the manufacturing, that is not 12%, 18%. You have done a contract to the government. It become 18% from 2022 July. So if the issues are there, take up one issue by issue, and for each issue, whatever the allegation, address to it. And at the end, submit the documentary evidence and also seek an opportunity of personal hearing in your reply to the notice. And also give a prior in a simple manner. Out of entire submission, what is your prior? Set aside or drop the proceedings initiated under show cause notice. That is my prior. So I need to give the prior. So I have given merely how the drafting should become. Many of the things are a little repetitive here if you see. So brief facts already we have discussed. Submissions, if you see, the rebutting of aspects have been questioned, and question on jurisdiction already discussed. Headings under which the means merits. If there are too many issues, heading wise submissions are required. And if it is a computational issue, reconciliation is very much required. And conclusion with prior is very, very much important. And documents enclosed in supporting of arguments are also necessary. You merely cannot tell what I'm doing is a manufacturing of books. I need to give a documentary evidence that I'm doing only this business. And if the issue is debatable, you can tell it is an interpretational issue. If there are already judicial decisions which are in favor of you, then you can take the shelter of it. And if entire industry is following any one of the method, then you can tell that entire industry is following the same. So we were under bona fide belief. That's the reason we have followed the same method. So these points also can be taken into our submissions. So if there is a conflicting judgment, for example, one court tells, okay, you're eligible for ITC. Another court tells, no, no, you cannot take the ITC. Now what I need to do? It's a merely conflicting judgments are there. I'm under bona fide belief. I don't know which one is correct. So limitation will not be applicable. So they cannot issue a notice under 74, even though the case goes against to me. And if the industry is following the same method, if for example, all GTS are following one method, you cannot ask only one person to follow different method. So it is a industry practice. So department may need to consider those aspects when they pass an order. And also if you see whether the issue for which the show cause notice is issued, whether there is any judicial decision which is in favor to you, adopt it. If the valuation adopted by the department is correct or not, you have to verify that. And basically when the tax is demanded 1 lakh, verify that 1 lakh computed by the officer is proper or not. There may be a computational error. There may be an additional zero has been added to the turnover. So there are many arithmetical error may happen from the department side as well. So whenever there is a figures in the show cause notice, just see whether it is matching with your turnover in your financial statements or any of the documents which are given earlier to them. And if you are actually liable to pay and you have not paid or anything, ask for the benefits of come tax benefit, etc. and ITC. And what is the reasons given by the notice for invoking the extended period? That is section 74 has been issued, notice has been issued. What is the reason given by them to issue notice under section 74? And also you can see there may be a technical errors in the year 1718, wherein payment was not reflected in the cash ledger or transitional credit was not reflected in the electronic credit ledger. There were many technical lapses. If that's the case, explain the facts with the documentary evidences properly to the department. Evidences are very essential. And for example, you need to obtain any kind of certificates from your suppliers or buyers you can obtain. For example, now circular 183 has come up, wherein they're clearly telling, even though it is not appearing in 2 or 2B, if you get the certificate from the supplier that he has paid the taxes to the government, that would be sufficient. So this similar type of certification may work out in many other cases. And you have to keep the correspondence files properly. And whenever you submit any of the documents, everything, make a covering letter and take the acknowledgement on it. So this is the points which need to be kept in mind while drafting a response to any of the notices. So Venu sir, you want to add anything over here?
Surely, I'll just do a recap once you are done.
Sure.
Maybe, yeah. Is there anything else, ma'am, or we are done?
It's almost done, sir. The issues were there in next pages. Almost all the issues I've taken while discussing it. So
Okay.
we can avoid it. That's all.
Okay, got it. So
Yes.
I think the floor is open for the questions, but I would like to bring some of the points which Madam very elegantly had put in drafting the reply. Now, see, there is to reply any notice, there is no specific book to say that use this verb, use this sentence, or use the structure. Replying to notice is an art. It is our choice whether do you want to give a detailed reply or simple reply or no reply. But however, Madam has given that structure wherein when you are giving a reply, if you follow that, wherein you introduce yourself, At times it so happens that when the reply is copy is taken, which doesn't even have who are you? You might start with saying in response to your letter dated so and so date or reference, but which is the GST number for which we are replying, and what is the case, whether it was section 65 matter, ADT 02 response you are doing, or in response to 67 number, give the brief specific of that. And also it's very important that certain small facts reproducing, right, rather than jumping to response to your para 16A of page number some 13, it's better that you say that the observation made by the officer is this, could be short snippet, and your response. So then what would happen is, independently when your document is read, it can also be taken. I'm not saying that that is the right way, but that is the way. And also very essential that your letter response should have a prayer. Eventually, what do we want? What are we seeking from the relief from the officer? Could be FAA or any level of appellate authority. What is that relief I am seeking? I might object all the points which are made, but the end, I still need to submit what is my prayer. There could be a situation where, in spite of objecting all the points, I choose to pay the taxes. Now you may say, are you stupid? I'll say that the cost of fighting and taking it to the next level is much higher than settling the payment. So I'm verbally, or it's like I'm very vocal saying that I'm not acknowledging or I'm not accepting any of the demands, but yet I'm choosing to pay. So making the prayer is also very important as to which points I would like to contest, which points I would like you to drop, which points I would like to discuss further. That's very important. And also, Madam has mentioned about the adjournments that are possible. Like you can take the 3 adjournments. You can always exercise that. Okay, when you are not ready with the information, you need some more information, you can always put that and take it. Lastly, always have a consultant opinion saying that, okay, this is what I intend to submit. When someone is looking at it freshly, unbiased, with a different mind, they may add a different value. And you also need to be very, like every industry, every company has their own business association network. Be present to what is the call they are taking. If majority of them are taking a call saying that this is not applicable, let's say a real estate, which is more debated thing and much talked about is plotted development. Still there are confusion that still goes whether it is 5% on the plot, sale of the plot, whether at all there is a tax, and the circular 177 which gave where the plot after development sale. Now what is the before development sale? So there are still the litigations going. But majority of them, what are they following? If majority of them are following in the same way, there are less chances that this point would be treated that, okay, you are doing an intentional evasion of the tax, right? So these are the couple of points I think one has to be very mindful of, and I should definitely appreciate Lakshmi Madam very patiently and lucidly has put up all the slides and explained various provisions of the assessments, the audit, and the types of notices that come and what should we as a taxpayer that we should do. And thank you very much, Madam, for taking such a detailed session.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for the opportunity, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So participants, if you have any question, I would request you to put your questions so that before we go to the next technical session on publishing Power BI reports, if you have any questions, either you have been allowed to unmute. You can unmute yourself and ask the question, or put your question in the chat. We'll take up the question. Okay, I don't see any questions here. Maybe we can also take the question after our the next technical session. Let me now invite Tarun, the next session speaker, who would be speaking on how we can publish the Power BI report. Tarun, can you share your screen? Okay, friends, before Tarun dwells into the report, a quick recap what we have discussed the last time. For some of you who have not attended the session the last time, wherein Tarun, can you go to the Power BI once? Yeah. So on the left side of the screen, you see three important things. You are seeing a report, you are seeing a grid, you are seeing a database connection, which we call it as a relationship. These are the three very important things one should be very mindful of, or they should know how to use that. And we have explained this in detail in last two sessions, that using this, you will be able to connect it. In fact, I'm seeing a data which is already there on the screen, wherein he has created a query and fetched the report. Also, for the benefit of people who might have joined this time, Taruna, what I would request is you share the whatever the bills receivable report which is there. Maybe just share that how you have created that report. And friends, Power BI, it's a power and business intelligence report. If you are good with M script language in Microsoft Excel, this is like a cakewalk. This is just an extension of that. Yeah. Yes, Tarun.
We took a blank query option and we pasted the M language query and we extracted data from Tally to Power BI.
You're too fast. Hold on. I know that. Okay, for you it's simple to say. Let me. So what he is trying to say is, let me go to advanced enter. This is a script which again in the last time which we have shown, a script that is which is copy pasted here. Basically, you are extracting the data from the tally. Now, how do you know where the tally is? You can actually ping this on a browser. You can just go to the browser and see which is working or not. I'm just saying a local host. So my Tally Prime server is running, and here is my Tally Prime, and the Tally Prime has a ODBC. And last time we have seen their external data, wherein like you can write some. Let me just write. Like if you see at the bottom of the screen, I've just given select dollar name from ledger. So I have given one small query. You can see automatically my ledger names have come, and I can also say I'm also adding some more information. You can automatically see that there is a ledger name, whether it is grouped under debtors, creditors, where it has been grouped. You get the various information, right? So likewise, you can write queries and you will get the results from the tally basis the query that you are posting it. Let me just put the phone on mute 1 moment. So likewise, these queries, one of the query that which now we are seeing here is the query which he has put to get the bills receivable from the tally. So he has given various, he is exporting. There's a bills receivable. So he is exporting bills receivable from tally and the data is here. Yes, sir. Over to you. Please continue.
After that, we created report, sir. So we are just refreshing. This is the report we created in Power BI, sir. After that, we published into Power BI service, sir.
Can you also group by the party? Is it possible?
In query editor, we can do search, transform.
Yeah, can you transform it to group by to the party?
Okay, sir.
So if something wants to, we want to make a change, we can go back to the one second, you are again too fast. Hold on. Cancel. Cancel. One moment. Hold on. So yeah, again, this always happens. If you know it, you keep doing it. Okay. So here is the data. So I want to group by. It's like a pivot table, right? So now do it. How did you do?
In the
On
group,
the top of the screen, you can see at the home button, there's a group. So I want to group by party name, and you can give the name of that. What is the name you want to give? You can type your name saying that the party balance. Okay, I'm just giving some name. You can give any name, right? And what is the operation that you want to do? Do you want to count it? No, you want to sum the outstanding balance, right? You will sum, and what is the column that you want to sum? The party amount, which is outstanding that you want to sum, you can say okay. And if you notice, if you have any errors, yeah, right now there are no errors. And now you publish this report.
this is how we publish, sir.
So the advantage, all is well, we have seen how to get the data to Power BI report. Now, what's the next? The advantage is you can publish your reports. So imagine your CFO, imagine your finance team, someone who has no access to the tally data or SAP or ERP, but they need to see the information. So now you can build the reports and you can just publish it online, the way which is done. We can just publish this online and it will generate a URL. You can just share the username password. Yeah. So if you have a licensed version, you can, it definitely has a lot of good number of security controls. So you can just make the publish, right now only do bills receivable. Yeah.
Success, sir. It is completed, sir.
So now
we will
go to the browser. Yeah. Can you open that in the browser? Show me this report in the browser for the user. How does that show up?
This is, sir, bills receivable.
Yeah.
Once I will do refresh, sir. After that, we will see.
So now the user doesn't need to have neither a Power BI in his system nor a ERP application in their system. So user will just come to a URL that is prefixed and which has been set, and they'll just come and open this report. You can always also see the timestamp. And Tarun, I want to be a little slow step by step so that.
Okay, sir.
So now this is the report which a timestamp that is there. Okay. Now just be on this report, don't change. let's pick this first one called Ashirwad Sugars. Can you just go to tally once? Okay, there's too many line items. Okay, let's pick this where this is, I think it's a vendor, but 3 crore 99. Yeah, 399 93 543, which is showing as the receivable. Maybe one entry. This is coming from, let's say, opening balance. Okay. Now let's just hypothetically may get a receipt for this party. I hope it is Ashirwad Sugars. We have an outstanding of 3 crore 99 lakhs. I'll say 3 crore 50. Let's see. Okay, so now let me make it to 31/3/23. Is that the period? No, when books are starting from 31/3/23. Okay, let's make it to 5th May 23. Okay. So now if I see my bill wise, my receivable against this 3 crore 99 has become 4 lakh 93. Instead of 3 crore 99, my receivable is 4 lakh 93. These are the accounting entries that has happened, and management has no clue about these entries and the books of accounts. Now what the management has is only an access to that receivable. So can you just show us how the management will see the report now, please? So user who is having the data, all that the user will do is everything once it is set, he'll just click on this is something like a pivot table. You made some changes to the data and we are only doing some refresh to the pivot table, right?
So after refresh, we have to publish again.
Yeah, click on the publish. So now you can see that here the Ashirwad Sugars automatically from 3 crore 99, it had automatically become 493, which means user has set the data, and if he reasonably sees that this is set changed here, and can you just go to the browser?
Already we opened, sir.
Where is the browser, man? Can you?
This one, sir.
So the end user, which could be MD, director, CFO, auditor, external auditors, it could be any person who doesn't have the access to the books of accounts, but only has an access to the reports module. When the moment they open it, they will be able to see the aspects of it in detail. And here they also can, from here they can, whatever the limited edition grouping things, they can do it. So this way, a user do not need to have the access for the books of accounts, and they will be getting updated. In fact, if need be, you can always create a timestamp in your report. I can just create a box on the top which will say timestamp, which will talk about when it is been updated, my last update date or my last published date. So that way, there is also quite a good control of data that is being updated and published. Those who are doing the collection management, they might need to be on top of receivables. Right now, it has been grouped by a person. You want to expand and see bill wise, you can just click on a button, expand, collapse all. Those are the simple things that you can do it. Let's do the same thing from my, say, P&L and balance sheet perspective. Can you just show that also, Tarun, once?
This is balance sheet. I already did refresh it. We have to publish it.
Okay, you can publish their financials. Is this the same tally that we are seeing?
Yes, sir. Same.
Okay. And in the last session, we have seen a demo of how the data trial balance that can be extracted. And by the way, this is in just one go. You can construct income, P&L account, income and expenditure from the trial balance. So you do nothing, and this happens automatically.
Here again, we have to go.
Right now, you are in the bills receivable page. You just need to swap, go back to your workspace and click on here. Here, the report name has been given as trial balance, but you can set however whatever the report name that you want. Now let's change this to this, and let's see. So here we are seeing an income of 7,89,000, expenditure 28 lakhs, and a loss of 21 lakhs. So let's see how we can change. We look at this data. Which is the period, Tarun, that the report is carrying? Can you? Is this the same? This you can see exactly like your M script. You close and just click on from date and to date.
2001 to 2023, sir.
1 second.
23 for April.
1 second. So you can just make a small change here. So here from date first. I think the books of accounts itself are we have just put it to April 23 to March 24. Okay, so you can also change here. No, yeah, give comma and 4.
Okay, sir.
1st April, yeah. And to date is March 24.
So just to close on the pressure, it will take automatically
Can you
to.
change the from date and to date, Tarun? Is the to date is March 24? From date is April 23, is to date is March 24?
April, sir. We took April, up to April.
No. Whatever, it's like we should correlate. What is the date? What is the to date? The numbers that we are seeing should be matching with the tally so that any changes we should be able to. Yeah, make it to 31st March 24. 31/3/24.
Okay, sir.
31/3/24, please.
324.
31. 31/3/24. 1 minute. 1 minute.
Yes. Okay, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, save now. Yeah.
Balance sheet.
So by the way, people, you can also see which is like steps. Step 1, step 2, step 3, and then whatever the things that you are changing is the steps that are happening here. So you can just click on close and apply. Automatically the data gets saved and goes back to. Yeah. So if you can see here, the numbers that we have in tally, 46, 59, 465, 981, 177. That is what you can see here, 465, 99, 177 as your sales. Let me just expand this. Yeah. We'll zoom this. You're at 62%. Maybe for you it is visible. Yeah. So here we have sales and other income, and my indirect income is 0. Can you just publish this report once? Is this report published?
Sir, we have to publish it.
This is not published? Okay.
No.
So it's just you need to publish and you get a URL and which you will save it to your user who would want to access the data. In fact, you can create a workspace, could be a Google workspace or on OneDrive. You can create a workspace where you can just keep sharing keep the URL there. People can click on that, enter the username, password, which are known only to them.
But can I do refresh, sir?
Yeah. So what you are right now seeing is 7,89,000 as the sales. When I hit the refresh button, basis the source data which I was carrying, the number is refreshed. Now let's just do one minor tweak in my books of accounts. So in my so let's just receive. So I just made I have posted a small receipt, and right now what we are seeing here is my cash discount, which is 0, and let's get the cash discount. So I don't need to do anything. I only need to do a refresh of my page because the database is directly integrated with the tally. and it is going to connect, update the trial balance and update all the information. So Tarun, next time when you're presenting, what you do is you can add a small button on the box,
What?
a
Okay, sir.
label, and just put a timestamp so that
Yes,
when
yes.
the report is published also, dynamically we will know at what time that has been done, we will be knowing. So what we have done is now the report is published. What user has is this URL. So user goes to the URL. All that user will do is only refresh the data. So the moment he refreshes the data, which is from the Power BI or when he is logging, automatically the data would be coming. So you can automatically see that cash discount and income which 5 lakh which has been recorded is visible here. So this way, the reports in our earlier session, we have seen what is a Power BI, where how to do data sets, how to build connections. Next session, we have seen how do we get the data from Tally to Power BI. And in this session, the objective was to push or publish the reports, and the published reports which are visible to your end user, and the end user only just need to log in there and they will get the reports. Anything else, Tarun, that we need to show them, explain them?
This is enough, sir.
Tarun, your voice is not clear.
Sir, now it is audible, sir.
Yeah, a little low, but no problem. Please tell.
Okay, sir. Sir, this is how we publish reports to Power BI service, sir. If we want to share links or anything, we need an organization mail, sir. That's it, sir. We can create an roles also, sir. Security roles or anything we can do in Power BI service, sir, within organization.
Yeah. So I'm sure now most of us are using corporate emails, and we can understand what Tarun is saying. If you look at a Google Sheet, you will right click and say share. And when you say share, it will be coming with list of people. Only the people who have the access to that will be able to open and click it. Likewise, this Power BI report can be shared within the organization. You can give a role specific users, saying that these are the users who can only access. So even though you have a link, if the role is not assigned to you, you will not be able to access it. Even here, you have 2-level access, where you can see report as is without editing or drill down, or you can just right now how we have done an expansion, like how I have drill down on sales and other income. You also can give an option where user can drill down and get into the report. So users can also publish the information as the information deck to the management, where like left side, if you can see on the pages, there is a trial balance, there is a P&L. So you can publish a deck and you can give your name. On the top of the screen, you have a name. 1 minute. Let me see if I can show that. Okay, I'm unable to, but if you can notice, there are some dots on the left corner. Next to it is a trial balance. You can always set that name, file name, whatever the name you want. Inside that file, you can have multiple pages, like an Excel workbook. You can have page 1, page 2, page 3, which is more like an index. So you can create as many reports as you want. So these reports would be there on your left side as a navigation bar, where you will be able to navigate and publish and present any of the reports that you want to present it to the user. Any questions so far?
Sir, how to configure for Power BI?
When you say how to configure Power BI, can you be
As an initial, that is from the starting.
Okay.
Because I am new to the session today.
I got it. Okay, this is the third session. Okay, I'll show one thing from the beginning for the benefit of everyone. So let's. So again, in the interest of, by the way, you can always log into our earlier sessions and watch the video. It's always better when you explore things. It will become more hands-on. I'm starting with a blank query, blank thing where I have nothing. So, which is like untitled thing. Let me now create. Okay, so here is a blank page that you are seeing. You can import the data from Excel, you can import data from SQL Server, or you can get the data from other sources. Tarun, can you get the trial balance? Can you get the trial balance?
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
On blank query, you can get, sir.
Okay, again,
So we need to,
hold on. Okay, you have jumped the gun. Okay, I know what you
Okay.
have done, but others should know from where did you get this. Okay, like why suddenly a box that got opened. Now you want to get the data, you don't know specifically anything. You can go to it like SAP or any of the thing, or I can hit this blank query. So that is where you have seen the box that got opened. So when I hit the blank query where I can, in fact, I have list of predefined queries that we have written. So the screen right now that you are seeing is same like your Microsoft Excel M script. It is little difficult to write a query here. I always suggest whenever who wants to write a query, click on this advanced editor where basically this is the formula box which is little bigger. You can write the query. Can you just paste the query that you have already written?
okay, sir. 1 minute, sir. This one trial balance, sir.
No problem. Basically, let is what do you want to let it do, and source in where do you want to do, and how do you want to publish it. So this is the trial balance query that which has been set. Change this always. From changing from 1st April 23 and making it to 31st March 24. So basically your trial balance sheet, all the information that has come. Can you just now the moment I say close and load, it will that information which had opened from the query editor, now it is coming into my Power BI report. So it's coming to my page 1. Okay, and I can rename this. Advantage of the Power Query, the data comes with it. You can also make, for the purpose of reporting, you can make some changes. Second, the file size will be lower because there's an application. What it is carrying is some data. So the size would also be lower. Why is it taking time? I'm not sure. Okay, yeah, it's done. Okay. So
This
now
is
you
for
have
sir.
the data has come. Now how do you want the data to come as? Since it's just a table, you can just this is same like your a pivot table, like drag and drop. On the right side where you see the data, the list of fields that are available is here. Next to it is visualization. You can pick any of that you want to visualize and you can take it. So you can just pick something and
Matrix, we will take matrix visual, sir.
yeah. So right now let's see as a table.
After that, so we will add primary group and parent groups in rows, sir.
Yeah.
Like this, we will add, sir, a column to.
So how in a trial balance, net debit, credit, all those things has been brought in. Maybe you can bring ease revenue to the filter and you can only pick those which are all relating to P and L.
So
Yeah,
we
you
will
can see
filter that.
how quickly everything has been summarized. Just zoom this bit so that yeah. So you can data is organized and presented automatically in a simple click of a button. And you want to see expenses, you can just expand this. This is what your grouping in tally is. And let's say indirect expenditure, you have salary and other line items. And you can just keep expanding and get all the data, whatever which is there, you can get it. I think Narahari sir, you got some idea of how the report just got constructed directly from the
Yes,
tally.
sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes.
Little bit idea is got, sir.
Yeah. It's just a start.
Yeah.
Consider this is just the beginning and there's the ocean to explore.
Yes.
Any other queries for anyone? All right. So just a recap in this session, what we have seen is now the data has been constructed. We have seen there is an ability to publish the results of Power Query that we had derived to a cloud, and with the URL password, username password, users can access any of the financial reports anywhere. It is kind of a mixture of your Google Sheet and your Excel sheet where you are trying to explode and make it bigger. Yeah. So on this note, we have come to end of the today's session. I should thank Tarun for his wonderful efforts of publishing some of our reports to the cloud and creating a data sector. Thank you, Tarun.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. And there was a question which people have asked, a copy of this recording. Surely we will share the copy of the recording and also today's presentation material to the registration ID that you have given. And you can also visit our YouTube channel. So after a week or 10 days, this recording would also get published so that you can try using that and get a more value to it. Thank you. And when you get a link of this material, you will get actually a feedback form. Request you to fill the feedback, letting us know how the session was for you and what are the types of topics or other things that you want to hear. Because we've been conducting this session month on month since last 5 years. And there's quite a good response where people were asking different sessions, and we've been taking up various topics, both on GST, second on technology. We as a finance professional, we work day in, day out to work on Excel spreadsheets or some of the reports. So our endeavor is to build your knowledge on these aspects of Excel and the tech. So every week we are taking one topic so that you get familiar to it and you start using and exploring that. Yeah. So on this note, there being no other questions, we can conclude.